So this is ChatGPT. This is something that gets a lot of discussion in my school district. There have been bunches of seminars and webinars and pull-out sessions and otherwise training about how to utilize ChatGPT, and it can do everything from write your lesson plans to help you grade papers to write your emails. I don't like to go that far. I still feel like a lot of those are things that I probably should be doing myself. But I have found it very useful as a tool, as a resource, as a guide that I can then use to kind of brainstorm or throw some ideas and see kind of what is out there. I have used it at times to try and come up with better wording when I am writing a student's IEP, or sometimes if I'm really struggling with coming up with what might be a measurable goal. My students are all ages 18 to 21. They all have intellectual or emotional disabilities or both. So, we're not worried about the traditional academics when we're trying to come up with how we're going to work with these students. So, say I need a few examples of a measurable IEP goal for a student with impulse control problems. So we'll think about it, and here are a couple of different examples for goals and how I would measure them. I've used this before. I've never just copied a goal straight from it, but I've looked at these and it's got my brain working in terms of how can I get this working for my student. But one thing I've enjoyed is in my communication class, we've discussed the changes in communication technology in just the last 100 years, and it blows their minds how far things have come, how quickly. But I like to show students how this can be a tool that assists them as well. As I've said, they're all young adults. They are on very different places in the spectrum intellectually. Some of them are capable of a lot of things, but they've never been told they're capable of a lot of things. Some of them could live fairly independently, but they've largely been treated as children all of their lives by either their families or our education system. So the other day, I had pulled up this program, and at first, we were asking it to write silly stories or tell jokes or do these sorts of different things that, people find as a joke. But then I typed in this right here. I need to make a dinner using some of the following ingredients. And I asked them to name a couple of things that they might find in the pantry at home: spaghetti, cheese, milk, eggs, meat, sauce, um, canned green beans, bread, butter. I already said cheese. And so it came up with this idea of how to make this particular recipe. And again, my students are like, wow, that's amazing, but I can't cook that. That's too much. And I'm like, okay, say you're at home and you want to make dinner for yourself. And you're like, man, I've never actually made myself toast. How do I make myself some toast for breakfast? And that's a simple query, but there's your answer. There's your what you need. There are your instructions. One of my students' eyes absolutely lit up, and he stood up out of his chair. He walked over to my desk and he grabbed my pile of post-it notes and brought it back to me and said, "Will, you gotta write that website down. I'm gonna get that right now." So I did, and this was a Friday. And when he came back on Monday, he told me he had made all his own meals on the weekend, just following the directions that he got from this app. So that's how I use it in my classroom, really as a way to show students that they have free resources available to give them answers to questions and help them with things that they never realized they could do for themselves.